We will call the regular meeting of Tuesday, January 14th, 2025 to order. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas,
Here.
Ms. Hayes,
Here.
Mr. Horvath,
Here.
Mrs. Sensi,
Here.
and Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, given the weather, we are foregoing the special presentation, and that will be postponed for another meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 17th, 2024?
I'll move. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Abstain.
Mr. Thompson,
Abstain.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do we have anybody wishing to give a board member report?
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to have 2 moments of silence here. It's always sad to learn of someone's passing, especially when it's a member of the Madison family. Recently, we learned of the passing of Margaret Peg Wickert, who was a nurse for the district for 28 years. Peg was born on September 23rd, 1936, and passed away on December 27th, 2024. She graduated from Madison High School in 1954 and went on to attend St. Luke's School of Nursing and became a registered nurse in 1957. She also earned a Bachelor of Science in Professional Arts from St. Joseph's College in 1991. She was also an organist for St. Anne's in the Fields. Peg married her late husband Forrest in 1960, and together they raised 2 daughters. Peg will be missed by her daughters Marie and Jennifer, as well as several grandchildren, step-grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. All of us at Madison Schools extend our deepest and most sincere sympathy to Peg's family and friends. I'll read the second. It's always sad to learn of someone's passing, especially when it is a member of our Madison family. Recently, we learned of the passing of David Foote Sr., a former member of the Madison Board of Education and Lake County School Board member. Dave was born September 15th, 1936, and passed away on December 17th, 2024. Dave married his wife Shirley in 1957, and together they raised 4 sons. Dave was a Madison School Board member for many years. Once as the president of the board, he was able to present one of his son's diplomas, having signed it as Dad. Dave will be missed by his wife Shirley, his sons David Jr., Daniel, Douglas, and Darren, and his many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. All of us in Madison Schools extend our deepest and most sincere sympathy to Dave's family and friends. All right, we do not have anyone registered for public participation. Recommendations of treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. First, I would like to recommend the approval of the financial statements for December 2024.
I'll move. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes. And next, I would like to recommend the approval of the following donations. A generous donation of an 8x10 rug from Rake's Carpet 1 to South Elementary School to be used in classroom number 123. A generous donation of $125 from Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Shimko to Madison Middle School to be used for outstanding lunch fees. A generous donation of $60 from the Madison High School English Department to the Madison High School Angel Fund. And that concludes the donations.
I'll move. Second.
Any discussion? Thank you for the many donations. Roll call, please.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
There anything you wanted to cover under reports? I know we were being
I am
brief,
going to do the recognition, and I just would like to circle back, because we did correct the certificates with today's board meeting, to, within my reports, to approve it, and then we'll invite them back to acknowledge them, to present. So I will add that somewhere in my recommendations. But each year in January, the Ohio School Boards Association recognizes members of the Boards of Education for their service to public schools. Without those in the community willing to step up and serve in the capacity of board members, public schools could not exist. On behalf of the Ohio School Boards Association and residents and community of Madison, thank you for your dedication and service. You are truly, and I love the theme this year, and this is my, last School Boards Recognition Month, you are superheroes. And I will be putting more about the meeting I attended this morning in Friday's update. But we have our work cut out for us during the first 6 months of this year. It's a budget year, and voucher expansion is going to be on the table. And in order for schools to get what they want, it has been said that vouchers will be a very prominent part of this budget. And I want to share one little fact that I found out. With the expansion of vouchers, guess how many new vouchers for new people going to schools were issued, percentage-wise?
30%.
3%. So the vouchers went to people already going to these private schools. So,
Oh, new.
yeah, new vouchers,
Oh, okay.
brand new people that had never gone to private school before to take advantage of the opportunity. So I heard that at the meeting I went to this morning, and that doesn't surprise me, because a lot of schools have become, all of a sudden, that we're on the brink of closure, have become solvent because of the voucher money. And it's going to be a big piece in the next 6 months of this year before that budget is finalized July 1. So we will be, I'm sure asked by various organizations, whether it's OSBA, BASA, OASBO, to do some lobbying, and I think we have to protect our interests in this budget. So that's all I'm going to talk about for this very brief time tonight due to the weather, but more to come. All right. Ready for the recommendations?
Sure.
All right. Well, this first one is a tough one. The Board of Education is accepting the following resignations. To accept with regret the retirement resignation of Susan Quayle Himes, Secretary to the Superintendent. She had put that on there. Effective June 30th, 2025, after 31 years of service to the district. To accept the resignation of Alana Solly, Special Education Assistant at Madison High School, effective December 20th, 2024. To approve the unpaid leave request of Hannah Abramzik, Madison Middle School math teacher, for the period of February 20th, 2025 through February 28th, 2025, and if necessary, beyond the unpaid leave date. We're asking you to enter into the following employment contracts to employ each of the following as substitute teachers, as approved by the Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve and our Madison Local School District's Assistant Superintendent under a 1-year limited substitute teacher contract, Sarah Lashley and Julia Stone. To employ Pam Grinstead under a long-term substitute teacher contract from January 6, 2025 to June 2nd, 2025 to perform the duties of Jacqueline Berry. To employ Jacob Glass under a long-term substitute teacher contract from January 6, 2025 to February 28, 2025 to perform the duties of Hannah Abramzik. The following people as casual day-to-day substitutes at the board approved rate of compensation, effective the 2020 too many dates this time of year. 2024-25 school year, April Hecht and Christine Crew. And to transfer Mary Waite from a 6.5-hour position as a classroom assistant ED at Madison Middle School to a 7-hour position as a special education assistant, special needs at Madison High School, effective January 7th, 2025. And then moved, oh, wait a minute, there's the motion.
I'm of.
She didn't put the motion in there, that's why.
I got a question.
A vote.
I have a question.
Yes.
The substitutes we're getting, you know how it used to be where they had to have a bachelor's degree? Are we getting more that don't have the degree now?
Absolutely.
And we're getting a lot of like college kids that want to be teachers, that'll come in on breaks.
How do you feel about that? I mean, has it become any issues, you know? I mean, what's the age on that? I mean, if a kid just graduated last year from high school here, I mean, they could become a sub if we,
We have some that are in that
Discriminate
circumstance.
age against them though.
I guess I don't know, I'm just trying to fill this out if it's right or not wrong.
The buildings use subs that are gonna show up, that are going to be good with the kids, that are appropriately placed. We tend to weed out like recent grads going to the high school to sub.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have a number of kids who are in school, particularly in educational programs, and they wanna come and get some experience, and I won't have them anywhere near the high school because they would have been in school with those kids the year before.
Yeah,
2
that's
years
where
before.
that's where I was wondering if there was
But
some kind of.
elementary.
And in elementary, we get them a little bit more of shadowing with the building sub to kind of get a feel for it. We ask the principals to keep a close eye on things, make sure that things are looking okay, that they're able to handle the situation. But knock on wood, it's been pretty good with the ones that have reached out.
Yeah, I was just curious, I mean, you know, being a sub myself, I'm sort of, my heart, people.
It's hard work.
You know,
I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, like I said, I accepted a position in Painesville today as a building sub, and I mean, so it's more to my heart, you know, what subs go through, you know, I mean, you know, I understand the in and out, and it's not always easy because, you know, kids like taking advantage of you, you know, some days are better than other days.
there used to be a lot of competition for sub positions, and we just don't have that pool anymore, which is, you know, why the state, I think, changed that and allowed this to occur. So you do the best you can. I mean, I remember when I was subbing, you know, trying to be on the ball and get in as quickly as I can, and through our frontline placement, it used to be that people would say, well, I can't get them, they're all taken up so quickly, and that's just not the case anymore. So it's definitely a work in progress.
It's better than in years past, and some buildings, you know, it's harder to find people that want to sub at middle school, because it's just a tough age group. So high school seems to be pretty good. Elementaries, they're pretty good.
It's
But
interesting, some of the parents that want to come in and sub, that have kids in the elementary, they'll only sub at the elementary because of the times of the buildings, you know, and they want to be home for when their children get home, and that makes sense, but, you know, that sometimes will limit, you know, the number of people we'll have in other buildings.
It's funny, I remember when I was appointed in January of 2016, the first telephone call I ever had from anyone was somebody who was a sub who wanted to be moved up on the sub list. And they contacted, and I said, well, you know, it's not really our role here to decide who, you know, but it's just, and then now, we're, you know, having difficulty finding subs. So,
Well, and the idea of a building sub, you know, places have had, you know, maybe some places had building subs and some did. Now everybody has multiple building subs, you know, just to try to ensure that you're going to have some coverage.
Yeah.
They'll be fighting over you, Jeff. Schools and districts.
Oh, yeah, I work every day, but if I want to.
All right, so you still need a vote, right?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Oh, I do have my roll call, I just. Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item, as we just accepted Susan's resignation, is to approve the revised superintendent secretary job description.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to say it was last revised in 1994, 30 years ago. A lot has changed. We will probably be bringing future job descriptions to you in the next few months, because I know we have another secretary retiring at one of the elementaries. And, you know, I think programs that we use now are a lot different than our
Strong typewriter skills was taken off that one.
shorthand and dictaphone. Now, I do dictate to her, but I do it in my cell phone on the way in the morning, so.
Roll call?
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, this is a standard motion to adjust the new minimum wage of $10.70 per hour effective January 1st, 2025. And then the only positions that would be affected by this are the pre-K substitutes that would come, assistant subs that would be paid $10.70 an hour.
I'm sorry.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, this is the second reading of the board policy updates that were brought to you in December. All of these were changes or recension of existing policies that were rolled into other policies and that were mandated under the legislature.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and under the consent calendar this evening, we have several items to enter into a sports medicine services agreement between Madison local schools and university hospitals, as found on file at the board office, to enter into a sponsorship agreement between Madison local schools and university hospitals effective December 5th, 2024 through November 30th, 2025. To enter into an addendum between the Madison local schools and the Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve to provide one additional full-time nurse, as found on file in the board office. To enter into an addendum between the Madison local schools and Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve to update the terms of the aligned services agreement, as found on file at the board office. To enter into an addendum between the Madison local schools and Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve to provide an additional 20 days of gifted services, as found on file at the board office. To enter into a Title I non-public schools program agreement between Madison local schools and Ashtabula area city schools for St. John's School for the 2024-25 school year.
Can you just explain to me what that one is?
This one, because St. John has some of our students, and they are entitled to Title I funds, Ashtabula has to be the fiscal agent of their funds because they're public funds.
And so part of our Title I grant monies.
It's a small amount.
It's usually 2 or 3 kids, and it flows from us through Ashtabula area city schools to pay for those allowable services at St. John or wherever they
It's
provide.
mainly like tutoring. I think this year's was 1,900.
1900?
And what's the sponsorship agreement?
Well, that was when they used to give us money, but they have no money to give us this year, so it's just, we are not paying anything for our trainers, and in turn, we agree to give them sponsorship.
Okay, so they're not giving us any money, but they're not taking any money from
Correct.
us.
Right.
Because that was gonna be my question, is what is the benefit to us?
That's the benefit. That's how they've changed their sponsorship.
They
the
don't charge
foundation.
for trainers,
Right.
they're providing trainers for
Right,
free.
because they get business from the usually if there's a concussion or something, university.
So when you say they're providing us trainers,
They provide the trainer on site, like at all the practices, all the football games.
so we have a
basketball.
trainer at every practice.
They're on site, yeah, every afternoon.
So they can get taped.
Take
Okay.
them. Yep. And, the Lake Health Foundation, which still exists, which gave us the donation 10 years ago, they're putting their money in a different direction.
Did we explore
Yes,
Cleveland Clinic?
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The dollars are just going
I
in
get
different
it.
places.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Okay. I'll move.
Any additional discussion? Roll call.
I do, and she will come and present at a meeting, I'm sure. But I do want to say that the Educational Service Center they collect a certain amount of money per student in every district. And they are now giving us back where it was a 90-10, where they'd kept 10 to, which comes back to us anyway through services. But they would give us back 90% of our funds. We use that money to buy services back. They've upped it to 95%, starting in January.
Are they still doing the recognition of teachers? Remember they would,
They sent something out. I know they're doing a leader award. I'm not sure if they're doing a
because
teacher
they would come
award.
in and give,
Yeah, that was,
The grant?
yeah.
last couple of meetings they had.
So I will find out if they're doing any teacher recognitions.
To do the vote, right?
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So we don't have a need for executive session for this evening, right? Okay, so before we adjourn, is Susan gonna come to one of these meetings so we can recognize her when the time comes? Just kidding.
I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah, I guess, for the record, I will write her retire. She usually writes those resolutions, so I'll make sure I wrote her retirement
All right,
resolution.
well, I just didn't want her to think we were like, okay, yeah, thanks, and that, you know what I mean?
31 years, thanks.
So I was gonna text her and tell her you guys
She will be
rejected
here.
her.
Yeah.
Go ahead, do that. It was not approved.
I will have her here in June.
So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Here's
Second. Roll call?
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
and Mr. Douglas.
Yes. All right, stand adjourned.